for a half hour of high adventure.
And welcome to Real Talk Rewind. I'm your host, Chris, and tonight we leave the familiar behind. We step into silence, isolation, and something rotten. Plainfield, Wisconsin, a quiet town on frozen soil. Snowdrifts stretch for miles across empty farmland. Neighbors are distant. Secrets sleep behind weathered doors, and sometimes something terrible grows quietly in the shadows. This is the story of Ed Gein. The handyman no one suspected. The man who turned grief into obsession. A man who made nightmares from the dead and became the blueprint for horror icons in cinema. Let's rewind. Edward Theodore Gein was born in 1906. His parents were George and Augusta Gein. George drank heavily, hiding in alcohol's numb haze. Augusta preached constantly, seeing sin in every act. She warned her children that the world was wicked. She believed women tempted men into destruction and death. Only she was pure, and only she knew true salvation. Ed clung to her words as though it was air itself. Her approval meant heaven. Her anger felt like hell. He was strange from an early age. He laughed at nothing, stared too long, and mumbled. Other children learned to avoid him, even fear him. He lived between reality and the fantasy Augusta built. Her teachings formed the only framework he knew. Death entered early into his life. His father passed in 1940, taken by alcohol. His older brother Henry died 4 years later. A fire allegedly claimed him, though details never added up. Ed found Henry's body himself. No burns, just bruises. That left only Ed and Augusta together. Silence and decay became their world. Augusta died in 1945. Struck by a stroke. Ed sealed her room, leaving it untouched like a tomb. The rest of the house fell into ruin. Trash piled high, rot set into every corner. Ed stayed behind, living with her ghost and speaking to it. To neighbors he was polite and quiet. He fixed fences, shoveled snow, watched children play. No one suspected the darkness lurking within. Inside, Ed studied death with careful attention. He read books on cannibals, grave robbing, anatomy, and Nazi experiments. He became obsessed with corpses, especially women's bodies. He wanted to be near them, to feel them again. To his mother, to her presence he could not regain. He began to dig. Graves of recently buried women became his ritual. He chose those who reminded him of Augusta. He said it was like dreaming and barely remembering. The house told a different story. Skulls turned into bowls, chairs upholstered in skin, masks crafted with human faces, a belt made of nipples, a box filled with noses. And in the shed, a suit made entirely from women's flesh. He wore it under the moonlight, pretending to be his mother, pretending she was alive again, pretending he could feel her presence. And for years, no one knew, until November 16, 1957. Bernice Worden disappeared that morning. Blood stained the floor of her hardware store. A receipt pointed directly to Ed Gein. The police arrived at his farm. The snow muffled their approach. The house loomed like a loon in the frozen night. When they entered, the smell hit first. Rot, death, humanity corrupted. They went to the shed and froze. Bernice hung upside down, gutted like a deer. Her head was missing. The air burned with odor. Inside, the nightmare expanded. Human skulls lined the walls. Faces became masks. Chairs and furniture stitched with human skin. Another one of his victims, Mary Hogan's head, was in a bag. Body parts stacked like firewood. Even seasoned officers could not remain composed. Ed spoke softly when arrested. He confessed without hesitation. 2 murders. The rest were graves. He smiled. He seemed proud, detached, lost in delusion. Doctors declared him legally insane. He was sent away forever. Ed died in 1984, quietly, in his cell, old and apparently content. The farmhouse burned down soon after. No one claimed responsibility. Some called it justice, others called it mercy. But Ed did not burn with it. His story spread quickly, and Hollywood came calling. Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. All of them were inspired by one man's madness. A man who killed 2 people, yet changed horror forever. Because Ed Gein revealed something terrifying. Evil does not always snarl. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it fixes fences. Sometimes it's polite. And sometimes it hides quietly behind ordinary eyes. Plainfield was a town shaped by isolation. Wisconsin in the 1950s had sparse rural communities. Farmland stretched for miles. Winter snow kept people apart. Communication was limited. People lived quietly, away from prying eyes. The region had few disturbances, few crimes of any note. This quiet made it perfect for a secret to fester. After World War II, the Midwest saw returning veterans and changing dynamics. Rural towns struggled economically. Traditional values were reinforced. Single mothers, religious control, and strict social hierarchies dominated life. Augusta's influence over Ed reflected these rigid societal pressures. Her control represented a cultural tension between morality and isolation. Ed's crimes shocked the nation, partly because of how hidden they had been. American media in the 1950s thrived on sensationalism, yet feared scandal. Gein's story pierced the quiet heart of small-town America. Newspapers covered it obsessively, fanning public fascination with monsters and madness. So let's pause here. Let's reflect a little bit and have some real talk. Ed Gein terrified us not because of numbers, he terrified us because of revelation. He showed how fragile normal can truly be, how close anyone might live to the abyss. He wasn't born a monster. He was a man shaped by grief, devotion, and obsession. Isolation amplified his delusions. His mother's control warped his mind. And that is what makes him unforgettable. Yet here's the darker truth. We made him immortal. We turned him into legend. Hollywood celebrated him. Sequels, masks, stories, characters. We remembered the killer. We forgot the victims. Bernice Worden and Mary Hogan. Forgotten names. Our fascination with monsters reveals something ugly about society. We turn suffering into entertainment, pain into spectacle. We crave horror to feel safe, to distance ourselves. But monsters don't always hide. Sometimes they live next door. Sometimes they live in our own reflection. Ed's story isn't just about murder. It's about obsession, control, grief, and loneliness. Love turned into worship. Desperation turned into ritual. He wanted control over what he had lost. Piece by piece, flesh by flesh, he tried to rebuild his mother's world. And in that, we glimpsed human fragility and darkness. So let's be honest, Ed Gein was not supernatural. He was a human, broken, lost in his own delusion. The real horror lies not in his farmhouse, it is in our reflection of it, our fascination. We burned the house, but we built monuments and culture. We kept the nightmare alive, gave him new faces, new names, and that's why Real Talk Rewind exists. To drag the truth from the shadows, to question what we glorify. Ask yourself tonight, why do we keep men like Gein alive? Curiosity? Survival? Or something darker inside of us? Just think about it. Reflect on what fascinates and frightens you. Drop a comment and join the rewind. If you haven't subscribed already, do it now. You can reach me at any time at realtalkrewindshow@gmail.com. This was Real Talk Rewind. I'm your host, Chris. Stay curious, stay aware. And remember, the scariest monsters have a human heartbeat.